All right, on this video, we're going to start reading Motor Trend from the September 2023 issue. Starting out with the editor's note. Ford, GM, and Rivian's blindingly obvious move. During a recent road trip, I watched the driver of a $160,000 plus Lucid Air attempt to charge his car at a broken EV charger in the rain behind a gas station off I-5 between LA and Sacramento. I was inside a fast food restaurant across the parking lot as the poor guy struggled to connect the charger to his car. He repositioned his Air twice so the combined charging system, or CCS, chargers on each side could reach the port, unaware the system itself was broken. There were no clear signs the charger was offline, the screen didn't show an error message, and any hastily made signs from other travelers attempting to convey the status had been washed away by the rain. I know because just a few minutes earlier, I was that guy. As the cars of the future inevitably go electric, one inconvenient truth is crystal clear. Charging networks, aside from Tesla's, are not ready for mass EV adoption, which is why on May 25th, Ford announced it was embracing the North American Charging Standard, NACS, beginning in 2025. Yes, this is the system Tesla pioneered in 2012 with the launch of its Model S and renamed NACS in November of 22 when it decided to open the electrical and mechanical interface to other manufacturers. Tesla's supercharger network is the gold standard of EV charging, and it has been since the earliest days of its rollout. And it's not even close. According to Tesla, its 10-year head start equates to 20 billion EV charging miles and more than 12,000 superchargers in the US and Canada. Quote, Tesla's supercharging network has 60% more NACS posts than all the CCS equipped networks combined, end quote, the company noted in a statement last fall. It's not just the sheer number of supercharging stations that matters, it's the user experience. Tesla chargers just work. Per the company's latest impact report, the supercharger sites had an average uptime of 99.95% in 2022 and have averaged better than 99% for the past 5 years. Don't just take Tesla's word for it. Ford CEO Jim Farley telegraphed this move to us back in August of 22. Charging is awful, Farley said in an interview during Monterey Car Week. No high-speed chargers, right? No quality metric around whether they're broken or not. You can't reserve one. They're not in locations that you want to spend time anyway. Other than Tesla. Charging plugs break. Tesla's plug is excellent. By the way, it doesn't break if you drop it. Anecdotally, he's correct. The MT team has come across countless non-functional CCS stations and connections. Broken charger handles, wonky screens, cables ripped out, and entire systems down for no obvious reason. Farley was straightforward when asked why Ford didn't build its own charging network. It was just too expensive. We're starting 10 years too late. So we had to use Electrify America and EVgo, and they're going to have to completely rebuild their networks. It's not competitive. All of this is why Farley joined Tesla CEO Elon Musk on Twitter to announce Ford EVs will be able to use the Tesla supercharger network beginning early in 2024 via a CCS to NACS adapter, and that in 2025, all Ford EVs will come equipped with the NACS hardware and software to make the charging experience seamless. 2 weeks later, on June 8th, GM CEO Mary Barra joined Musk on Twitter to announce essentially the same deal with Tesla. Starting in spring of 2024, GM EVs will be able to use the supercharger network via an adapter as a transition to 2025, when GM EVs will come standard with NACS hardware. Right as we went to press, Rivian announced it would adopt NACS immediately via adapters, and that future vehicles would have the NACS charge port as standard equipment. Now that Ford, GM, and Rivian have abandoned CCS and joined Tesla to make NACS true to its name, all other EV makers must consider moving as well. I open with a tale of charging woe to call out not just Lucid, but rather all EV manufacturers entering the space, especially luxury brands. If you want the masses to switch from gas to electricity and to your brand specifically, you must make the charging experience excellent. If you're the CEO or CMO at Audi, BMW, Bentley, Cadillac, Lexus, et al., your charging experience needs to match the badge on your business card. You require your dealerships to deliver a white glove purchase experience worthy of your brand, so why abandon your customers one road trip after they leave? Mercedes-Benz understands this. Back in January, it announced it would build its own supercharger-like network with ChargePoint to deliver approximately 2,500 Benz-branded chargers by 2027. That pales in comparison to the lead Tesla built and Ford co-opted, but it should be applauded. Building a charging network doesn't just provide an opportunity to recharge a car, it provides a chance to recharge a brand. Because as good as a supercharger network is in terms of uptime, all charging networks need to get better. Functional and fast chargers in safe, well-lit locations are only table stakes. All charging networks should offer protection from the elements, and provide trash and recycling bins and clean restrooms 24/7. Luxury brands should even go further. The opportunities to deliver world-class charging experiences that can separate and define a brand are unlimited. This would be expensive and difficult, but remember, when Tesla announced its supercharger network a decade ago, it was derided as a fool's errand that could bankrupt the company. It was a huge bet that required Tesla to deliver electric vehicles appealing enough for masses of consumers to buy them and an EV charging experience great enough to keep them. Ford, GM, and Rivian recognize this competitive advantage is worth embracing, and it's time for all other manufacturers to follow suit. As Aston Martin celebrates its 110th anniversary, what better way to party than launch a new DB? Especially as the famed DB Moncure is itself 75 years old this year. Meet the new DB12, which Aston says is the world's first super tour. Grand is not enough. And when you look at some of the headline numbers, it's difficult to disagree. 671 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, top speed of 202 miles an hour. The DB12 doesn't look all that different from the gorgeous DB11, but 80% of the car is allegedly new. Much of the development focused on performance and handling software and on stuff that Aston Martin hasn't always done exceptionally well. The DB11 base bonded aluminum body structure is 7% stiffer overall, with the stiffness across the front strut towers increased by 140% to improve on-center feel from the electric steering system, which needs just 2.4 turns of the steering wheel to go from lock to lock. The stiffer structure enables the new Bilstein DTX adaptive shocks, which has 4 times the operating range of the DB11's units, to better finesse wheel and body motions. The 4-liter twin-turbo V8 under the hood is the same Mercedes-AMG sourced engine, but modifications have boosted power to 671 horses at 6,000 RPM. And torque to 590 pound-feet between 2750 and 6000 RPM, increases of 34% and 18% respectively. This is the only engine option. There won't be a V12 DB12, unfortunately. The V8 drives the rear wheels through a reprogrammed version of the familiar ZF 8-speed automatic used across the current mainstream Aston Martin range. For the first time on an Aston DB, an electronic differential is standard. Tying all the new engine and chassis hardware together is new software, the most visible manifestation of which is a new stability control system that combines 4 intervention protocols: wet, on, track, and off, with 5 overall drive modes: GT, Sport, Sport Plus, Individual, and Wet. The new system can build a real-time understanding of what the DB12 is doing and predict available grip levels. Less intervention, more anticipation is the philosophy. Aston's reputation has been for beautiful exteriors, but its interiors were not as special. The DB12's cabin, awash with the rich tang of bridge of wear leather, is special. The redesigned dash features a horizontal, full-width vent graphic, as well as 2 10.3-inch high-res screens with ultra-black display technology. The PRND array of buttons across the dash, an Aston feature since the early 2000s, has been banished in favor of a simple and more ergonomically sound toggle on the center console. The DB12 also debuts new software developed in-house. It's designed to deliver levels of functionality and connectivity never before seen in an Aston. We'll wait until we get behind the wheel before making a definitive judgment, of course. But at first glance, the DB12 is perhaps the most important new Aston Martin Grand Tourer since the DB7. Just as that car launched 30 years ago, abruptly yanked Aston into the 1990s, the DB12 marks its entry into the modern digital age. The estimated price of the 2024 DB12 is $225,000, coming in at £3,950. The 2024 Ford Ranger Raptor. The first look. Enthusiasts can be forgiven for having ignored the Ford Ranger. From 1983 to 2011, it soldiered on with minimal updating and no performance variants. A mantle assumed by the Global Ranger introduced here halfway through its life cycle in 2019. Well, the new Ranger Raptor is a wake-up call to start paying attention. The US Ranger Raptor, this new gen truck, has been on sale for a bit elsewhere. Gets a version of the Bronco Raptor's 3.0-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost V6 with 13 fewer horses and 10 fewer pound-feet due to plumbing changes. But don't fret. Pickup boxes are way lighter than Gloston SUV bodies, so Ford says the Ranger Raptor weighs about 400 pounds less. And as in the Raptor, this engine is tuned to reward the revs, making 90% of peak power at redline. The Ranger uses a 10-speed automatic teamed with an electronically controlled transfer case and front and rear locking differentials. Suspension travel is greatly increased from the mainstream 2024 Rangers, And the setup controls stock 33-inch BF Goodrich all-terrain TA-KO3s that can be ordered on beadlock capable wheels for the serious sand runners or rock crawlers. Note that at 10.7 inches, ground clearance is up 1.4 inches relative to base Rangers, but it still falls 3.8 inches shy of the Bronco Raptor. The 2.5-inch Fox live valve internal bypass shocks feature varying damping maps with position-sensitive performance that changes rates mid-stroke on a given jounce or rebound event. These are tailored to suit the normal, tow, haul, sport, slippery, off-road, rock crawl, and Baja drive modes. R mode allows customization of the various parameters to the driver's preference, and the system continuously monitors driving style to provide appropriate dampening if, for example, you suddenly start ripping across the desert without switching to Baja mode or get all four wheels off the ground. Extensive cladding includes a steel bash plate plus coverage for the engine, transmission, transfer case, and fuel tank. Every vent, scoop, and design element is functional and necessary. Well, the Raptor graphics are less than vital, but they're also optional. Our photo vehicle features a new Raptor color called Shelter Green, which incorporates gold metal flakes and will eventually replace the Code Orange paint option on the other Raptors. The Raptor's interior signature Code Orange accent color isn't going anywhere though, and it features heavily via the stitching seat bolster accents, vent surrounds, and center mark on the steering wheel. 6 upfitter switches mounted in the overhead console are provided to power auxiliary lighting and other off-road gear. The interior also gets nearly all Ranger bells and whistles. We're saving the best for last. The opening price of $56,900 is $28,475 lower than the price of a Bronco Raptor, and this one can haul mulch and ATVs. It's also right in line with GMC's new Canyon AT4X and slightly more than Chevy's Colorado's DR2. And a pre-production 2023 Ranger Raptor has already demonstrated its chops by winning the stock mid-class category of the Baja 1000. You paying attention now? The base price is $56,900. It's a front-engine 4-wheel drive, 5-passenger 4-door truck. Engine is a 3-liter, 405 horsepower, 430 pound-feet, twin-turbo port and direct-injected DOHC 24-valve V6 under a 10-speed auto, weighing in at 5,350 pounds. 0 to 60 estimated 5.8 seconds. 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz, the version Americans can buy eventually, and it is on sale now, being 2025. We've been buzzing about the ID Buzz, the all-electric return of VW's iconic microbus. For so long we expected the novelty to have worn off by now. Yet we were genuinely thrilled to see the long wheelbase 3-row version. The big news, it's 9.8 inches longer than Europe's 2-row version, with all of that in the wheelbase, making it roughly the same size as VW's Atlas SUV. The sliding doors are 7.6 inches longer, providing improved access to the new 3rd row and feature plug-style side windows that slide rearward electronically. We expected the long Buzz to have the pedestrian look of an ordinary minivan, but it doesn't. In fact, it might have even more microbus character. In the middle row, the US spec ID Buzz will offer captain's chairs or a 3-place 70-30 split folding bench. 2-person 50-50 3rd row is comfortable provided you recline the backrest. Tricky, as the adjustment straps are only accessible from the cargo area. And passenger space is more generous than in a typical 7-seat SUV, exactly as we expect from a minivan. Way back riders get cup holders and USB-C ports, but no opening windows. Cargo space behind the 3rd row appears slightly smaller than what you'll find in a minivan, and there's no underfloor storage because the rear motor lives there. The 3rd row seat backs fold down flat, but more room requires removal. VW will offer a shelf that sits level with the folded seat back. With both rear rows down, there's plenty of space to sleep. The longer Buzz gets a 91 kilowatt battery as opposed to the 82 kilowatt unit in its sibling, but it will be feeding more horses. The rear drive US model single motor produces 282 horsepower as opposed to 201 horsepower. The 3-row will also offer an optional 2-motor all-wheel drive powertrain with output around 330 horsepower. EPA range numbers haven't been finalized, but Volkswagen predicts about 260 miles for the rear drive and 252 miles with all-wheel drive. The richer standard equipment list includes faux leather upholstery, power sliding doors and tailgate, heated, cooled, and powered front seats, heated 2nd row outboard seats, 3-zone climate control, and a heated steering wheel and washer nozzles. The van will also get an updated version of VW's infotainment and climate control systems. Options include a panoramic roof with electrochromatic tinting, 14-speaker audio, a heated windshield, parking assist with remote parking, and a head-up display. Volkswagen hasn't confirmed US pricing, but we estimate the van will start in the high $50,000 range. That's list, of course. The van will likely be on par with air conditioners in a Dallas heat wave, and we bet dealers are already salivating at the sky-high markups they'll be able to pile on. The gougers and gougees will have to wait a bit before the 3-row ID Buzz goes on sale, which will happen in the 3rd quarter of 2024. The 2024 Porsche Cayenne, the excellent one-car solution. Many folks want one car that can do everything. If that's your goal, it's hard to find a better fit than the 2024 Porsche Cayenne. For this heavy refresh, Porsche engineers refined the Cayenne's personality to a singular essence that permeates every iteration. Some have more power, and others get better fuel economy, but they are otherwise identical in character, evidenced by the SUV's reactions in corners and the way the weight transfers and their bodies roll. It's the same from a base model and the hair-on-fire Turbo GT. Consider the Cayenne E hybrid plug-in V6 and the V8 powered Cayenne S. Somewhat unusually, they make about the same power, 463 horsepower for the PHEV and 468 horsepower for the V8, illustrating exactly what we're talking about. All of this is a gift to the conflicted Cayenne buyer. It gives them license to buy whatever model best suits their wants and needs. Want to save money up front, spend less time at gas stations, and reduce your carbon footprint? Get the hybrid. Gotta have that V8 rumble? Get the S. Or the Turbo GT if you really need an SUV that doubles as a track car. More than the driving experience, customers are going to have thoughts about the interior. Nearly everything you look at and touch will be completely new to anyone who hasn't been in a Taycan. The shifter is now a chunky toggle on the dashboard and hides easily behind the smaller 911 inspired steering wheel. You'll forget where it is at least one time, maybe more during your test drives. The proliferation of screens will read as either tech forward or tech for tech's sake, depending on the buyer. The digital cluster is crisp and bright despite being unhooded, and it has many screens that are a bit confusing to scroll through and also disappointingly lacking when it comes to customization. Same goes for the head-up display. The center screen and its optional redundant twin in front of the passenger run Porsche's latest interface, which is simpler to use and also pops up useful functions when appropriate, such as damper and exhaust options when you change drive modes. The front passenger screen has a filter so the driver can't see it. Actually, using the passenger screen requires leaning forward uncomfortably or moving your seat up just to reach it, at which point you can just easily tap the center screen. The ability to watch videos during a drive seems the only real case for this feature. Suspension improvements make it an even better luxury SUV. There's less jostling from bad roads, and passengers don't move as much when the driver gets aggressive. You could do 1,000 miles a day in this car and still arrive ready to party. Whatever your reason for seeking a one-car solution, it's difficult to argue against this one. Base price is $80,850 to $197,950. And we've got a 3-liter, 348 horsepower, 368 pound-feet turbocharged V6, a 3-liter, 300 horsepower, 310 pound-foot V6 plus 174 horsepower, 339 pound-foot electric motor, good for 463 horsepower combined, a 4-liter, 468 horsepower, 442 pound-foot twin-turbo V8, or a 4-liter, 650 horsepower, 626 pound-feet twin-turbo V8. All use an 8-speed auto, weigh between 4,550 pounds to 5,400 pounds, and all the models do 0-60 between 3.1 and 4.5 seconds. The 2023 Toyota Prius Prime, a fun, efficient middle finger to all electric vehicles. Is it worth considering the 2023 Prius Prime given how good the standard car is? Abso-freaking-lately, plug-in hybrid drives great, and with up to 44 miles electric driving range, it could use vastly less fuel than its non-plug-in counterpart. Combining a 2-liter inline-4 engine with electric motors powered by a 13.6 kilowatt battery, the Prius Prime produces 220 horsepower and 139 pound-feet of torque, with 26 more horsepower than the standard Prius and a whopping 99 horsepower more than the outgoing Prime. That makes it the most powerful Prius ever. It's also the quickest Prius ever. Its 0-60 acceleration takes 6.4 seconds, and it crosses the quarter mile in 15 seconds at 95.4 miles an hour. The standard Prius hits 60 in 7.2 seconds, and the quarter in 15.5 seconds at 91.7 miles an hour. Amusingly, the Prime's also quicker to 60 miles per hour than the automatic equipped Toyota GR86, clocked in at 6.6 seconds. Electric driving capability is the Prime's main appeal, and it moves just fine in EV mode. Dedicated EVs have stronger and more responsive motors, but the Prime has no trouble pacing traffic in EV mode. It won't wake the engine even when you push the pedal to the floor. The Prime needs 122 feet to stop from 60 miles an hour, marginally better than the standard Prius 123-foot result and similar to popular Toyotas like the Camry, Corolla, and RAV4. Its brake feel earns additional praise. Many hybrids and EVs struggle with smooth transitions from regenerative braking to friction braking, but the Prime's brake pedal always feels natural and consistent. In our handling test, the car bettered every other Prius we've evaluated, with the exception of its 2023 Prime counterpart. It rounded the skid pad at 0.82 G average. The normal model delivered 0.88. On our figure 8 course, the Prime's best lap was 27.2 seconds at 0.63 G average, behind the 2023 Prius 26.8 second 0.65 G result. Prime's 3,589 pound weight, 460 pounds heavier than the standard Prius, might be a factor here, as the car's Michelin Primacy all-season tires are identical. This is a Prius that's legitimately pleasant to drive. Sharp steering and impressive composure give it a fluid, intuitive handling feel that, along with peppy acceleration and predictable brakes, makes the Prime unexpectedly enjoyable to take down a twisty road. With a set of sticky tires, it could become something of a hybrid hot hat. In entry-level SE trim, the Prius Prime offers 44 miles of electric range, and the XSE and XSE Premium trims return 39 miles, enough to cover the daily needs of countless drivers. If those drivers are diligent about plugging in or letting the available solar roof panel work its magic, they'll need to worry more about stale gas and running out of charge. And a depleted charge is actually little to worry about. The Prius Prime will still return about 50 miles per gallon combined in hybrid mode, able to cover more than 500 miles between fill-up. Drivers who have gone all electric will wince at how much cheaper the Prime is than all but the least expensive EVs. It starts at about $33,500 and can run up to slightly more than $40,000. It's a few $1,000s more expensive than the standard Prius, so if you won't plug it in often, just get the regular hybrid. For folks still on the fence about full-on electric transition though, the Prime is as much as an EV as most people need. And with the 2023 rework, it's a better, quicker Prius than any Prius that's come before. The 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander. 3-row space, max hybrid pace. The SUV third row. Traditionally, only short people dared venture back there, as it's almost always a cramped penalty box. Lately though, several big, but not too big, 3-row SUVs have stepped into the breach in an effort to make things less onerous out back and from behind the wheel. With the all-new 2024 Grand Highlander being Toyota's take on the theme, sure, the regular Highlander, with which the Grand Highlander shares some componentry, a powertrain, and a name-ish, but also has a third row. But it's not nearly as grand as the one in the Grand Highlander, which was designed to be 7 or 8 passenger SUV. It has roughly a 4-inch longer wheelbase and is roughly 4 inches longer overall than the biggest Highlander, and it's some 2 inches taller and wider as well. What that means for the way back passenger is more head, leg, and shoulder room. There's more cargo room as well, with 20.6 cubic feet of space. There are also 57.9 cubes behind the second row, and an impressive 97.5 cubic feet behind the first row. The seats also fold flat for easier cargo loading. That's some 10 cubic feet more than the Kia Telluride and almost 13 more than the Jeep Grand Cherokee L, two of the Grand Highlander's competitors. As for what it's actually like back there, we easily hiked our way in after a quick flip forward to the second row captain's seat on the top tier Platinum trim. The second row seats are ventilated and heated. The bottom and back supports weren't super comfy, but they weren't board-like either. Headroom for this 6-footer was more than acceptable, as was legroom with the second row moved up just a smidge. There are also 2 USB-C ports on either side, 7 in all throughout the cabin, and ample room for drinks and even tables. All in all, it's a solid third row. When it comes to piloting the Grand Highlander, it's about as what you expect from a vehicle in this class, especially so when it comes to the volume powertrain. A version of Toyota's latest 2.4-liter turbocharged inline-4 with 265 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, mated to an 8-speed automatic. Toyota claims a 0-60 time of 7.5 seconds, which seemed reasonable from our experience traversing around in one equipped of the Turbo 4 on Hawaii's Big Island. We weren't overwhelmed or underwhelmed, but it'll be just fine for most of the 75% or so customer mix Toyota says will opt for it, and it should offer enough oomph to get by with 7 or 8 passengers, and or lots of gear in tow. Speaking of towing, the gas model can haul up to 5,000 pounds. The all-wheel drive version with a dynamic torque control figure we drove, you can get it in a front drive version as well, is estimated at 20, 26, 22 city highway combined miles per gallon, a decent number for a vehicle that weighs more than 4,500 pounds. If you want a more grandiose miles per gallon rating, there's always the hybrid version, which we didn't get a chance to drive. It comes equipped with a version of Toyota's familiar hybrid powertrain, with a 2.5-liter Atkinson Cycle 4 and planetary hybrid CVT, plus a choice of either front or on-demand all-wheel drive. It's roughly the same version that's found under the hood of the Highlander Hybrid, with roughly the same total system horsepower, 245, and torque, 177 plus pound-feet. Although we're super impressed with its estimated mileage numbers, 36, 32, 34, we wonder how well it will perform when fully laden. The powertrain you won't need to wonder about is the Hybrid Max option, a highly boosted, hybridized version of the 2.4-liter turbo paired with the 6-speed auto and full-time electric all-wheel drive, similar in scope to the setup found in the Toyota Crown and the Lexus RX 500h. The powertrain uses a front-mounted motor a rear-mounted e-axle motor that helps drive the rear wheels, and a nickel-metal hydride battery to boost its total system output, rated at a healthy 362 horsepower and 332 pound-feet. In addition, the all-wheel drive setup can instantly meter the power from a 70-30 front-rear split to as much as 20-80, depending on the driving situation. As is the case with the gas model, Hybrid Max-equipped Grand Highlanders can also tow as much as 5,000 pounds, but the base hybrid lugs in 3,500 pounds all in. During our time in a high-end Hybrid Max-powered Grand Highlander Platinum, the XLE is the base trim level, and Limited is the middle child, we found the powertrain to be potent motivation for a roughly 4,900-pound SUV. Toyota claims a 0 to 60 time of 6.3 seconds for a Hybrid Max. Regardless of what drive mode we chose, the suspension tune transmitted more than a bit of impact harshness into the cabin when we crashed over the occasional washboard. And in the few twisty sections we were able to charge into, we found it a smidge wallowy. We'd rather have it more comfortable over the bumpy stuff, or at least a more comfort-oriented setting, with slightly less lean into corners. For the overwhelmingly majority of owners, though, the setup will no doubt prove more than sufficient. All in all, the Grand Highlander doesn't exactly break any new ground, but it fills a niche for Toyota with an offering that will undoubtedly be able to compete against several established three-row SUVs. We'll see whether buyers are interested, at prices starting just shy of $45,000 for the front-drive XLE, right around 60 grand for the Platinum. And just for fun, towards the tail end of this episode, we'll take a look at the Motor Trend archive at the September 1973 issue from 50 years ago, and the newsstand price was only 75 cents. It says, we previewed the new 74s from Chrysler, Ford, and AMC, had our first drive of the Honda Civic, which we called a revolution on wheels, and chronicled Ford's new Mustang too, both the car itself and the business case for it. It wasn't all econo-boxes though. We also road tested the Jaguar XJ12, so good it's worth almost any sacrifice to drive, and tried to put a brave face on the 74 GTO, based on Pontiac's Nova clone Ventura with a mere 165 horsepower. 30 years ago, which was September of 93, price $2.95. We chronicled affordable cars and America's best sellers. Number one was the Ford F-150, some things never change, followed by the Ford Taurus. In a Car of the Year rematch, the base model Camaro reversed its fortunes by beating the Ford Probe, while the Mercedes-Benz 600 SEL topped the BMW 750 IL and the Jaguar XJ12. And a mere 10 years ago, back in September of 2013, it cost $4.99. The new C7 Corvette Stingray Z51 graced our cover and stole our hearts. In our big test of sports sedans, BMW's 335i xDrive was the champ, followed by the Audi S4, the Lexus IS350, the Caddy ATS, and Volvo S60. Meanwhile, the Range Rover Supercharged proved superior to the Mercedes-Benz GL63 AMG. That's it for this particular reading. Stay tuned for part 2.